Hello, hello. 1 second. I'm going to figure out what's happening with my lighting situation, but welcome to today's live. We are going to look at your charts. The purpose here is to offer guidance to people who cannot necessarily book a full-size reading. If you have sent your payment already, do let me know. I'm also going to real quick turn the light on. So the moment the sun sets, we are not left in complete darkness. Forgive me, I wasn't fully ready. I just jumped on here. Hi, LZZY. You're the one who sent an email asking about a specific person, whether they will enter your life, correct? And thank you so much for sending the donation and for sending the question as well. Very efficient. I appreciate that. Let me just real quick get the donation information. If you are joining us and you want to let us know where you're watching from, that would be really fun. I like to know where you guys are watching from. Okay, I'm just going to find my information. The way this works is I do ask for a donation. Suggested amount is $25 to get a reading. Please prioritize one important question that you have, because these are smaller sized reading. If you ever feel like booking a full-sized reading and having a face-to-face conversation, visit anastasiadoesastrology.com. On there, you can book a reading. You can also register for my upcoming predictive astrology course. There's nothing better than actually speaking the language of astrology. This way you can keep track of everything that's happening in your life, know what happened in the past, and know how to predict the future based on that. So I just pinned the comment that has the information on where to send your donations. Once you do, share your birthday info, date, time, place, either in the comments, or if you prefer your information to stay private, email me at anastasia.does.astrology@gmail.com with your information, with your question, specifying that you'd like it to be private. Okay, what's going on? Okay. So LZZY, I see your answer. We have K. Dion watching from Oklahoma City. We have what mine is mine too, watching from Morocco. What time is it in Morocco? We have King Capricornio saying hi as a little chicken. Okay, so LZZY, you wanted your information to be private, and it feels more like a horror-y question for me. So we're not, oh, it's Izzy, IZZZY. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, so I don't think I really even need your birthday information for this, because the question that you had is, so you said wanted to know if a certain person was going to enter my life. Basically, you're asking if astrology sees whether this person will come into your life. And so that feels like a horror-y type of question. Horror-y is a branch of astrology that is a lot more outcome focused. So in horror, you ask a question that is specific like this, like, will I hear from this person who we're calling S, right? And then you're looking at the chart for that specific moment and you're seeing whether there is any connection. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so right now on my list is pretty much only Francesca. So if anybody else wants to, get on the list, please do. And yes, in order to get on the list, use the link that is pinned in the comments. And once you send the donation, share your information and your question. Okay, so I will pull up a chart and share it. The chart will not have any of the birthday information. It will literally just be the question. and we're going to ask, will S re-enter? Well, since I already said Francesca, I hope you don't mind. I'm just going to keep saying Francesca, because that is kind of just the name and not a lot of not personal information really. Okay, so today is February 2nd. Time is 5:06 p.m. for me. And we're pulling a Reggio chart. Okay, so let's see. You're saying Groundhog Day? What do you mean, like like re-enter? Similar repetitive vibes. Okay. So this is the chart for the present moment, and we're pulling it in the in the Reggio Montana house system, because that is what is primarily used for horary. Okay, so you are first house is always the person asking the question. In this case, it would be you. You've got Leo on the ascendant. Leo is ruled by the sun, so the sun is right. It's very kind of literal. Your significator in this chart is in its detriment, which might suggest that you're maybe you're like emotionally perhaps what's a good word, like there is like you're thinking about this person. There might be some sort of like I don't know, sadness. Maybe you're not like fully aware of whether this person is good for you. There might be a little bit of like codependency, or just like something is bothering you. Let's say maybe it's about a different situation, but it does look like your planet is in sort of in the other person's house, thinking about this person, and perhaps not like not necessarily you're not currently like at your best, let's say. That doesn't mean that you're like I don't know, that something difficult is going on, but it does sort of look like there's a lot of focus coming from you, and it is placed on this other person potentially. So they are represented by Saturn, and Saturn is in the 8th house, which might suggest that the person you're asking about is so 8th house is actually their 2nd house. So it would be like there might be a sense that they are focused on the money, or they're going through something connected to money. They're maybe dealing with some type of even like debts, loans, inheritance, insurance, some type of potentially like more difficult situation that they're involved in. You are also the moon here, and the moon represents usually more your emotional self, and the sun represents your conscious self. And so like your emotional self in this chart is kind of ruled by your conscious self. The question is there a connection between the moon, Saturn, the moon and the sun, or Saturn? It doesn't jump at me immediately. And like we'd want there to be a connection for the answer to be yes. So the way I'm looking at it right now, it doesn't look like it, but let me think for a second and see. So so we have Anastasia between Cancer, Gemini, Leo, Taurus, Virgo, Aries, Libra, Pisces. So it's not Anastasia. We have contra Anastasia between Pisces, Aries. So, okay, so the moon is going to change signs and go into Virgo, but it's not really going to aspect Saturn for a while. It's only going to aspect Saturn in like, yeah, in a long, like there's still ways to go. And then we have the sun. The sun is hanging out with all of these planets. the sun is well, the sun conjoined Venus, the sun conjoined Mars, the sun conjoined Pluto, the sun conjoined Mercury. So these guys are all kind of on their way. I guess the next aspect is to Uranus. And Saturn has already aspected Uranus. I don't know. It doesn't look, I feel like I'm trying to look for ways in which this could be a yes, but at this, like as it stands presently, it doesn't look like it. I do wonder if what I describe in terms of like your situation and their situation is resonating. And when like I look at these horary charts, it's always worth mentioning that I'm just I'm the translator. I'm not the divine, right? I translate what I'm seeing, and the way I'm seeing it is right now. Astrology is not saying that you guys are going to reconnect, but it's also something like this question can be asked again in like 6 months potentially, or like a few months. I wouldn't recommend asking this like sort of more regularly, because as it stands in the present moment, this is like there's not, I do see, I also kind of see you having strong feelings for this person. I don't know if they have, like I see that you have strong feelings for sure. Let me just maybe take a look at, I want to take a look at the dignity here real quick. So your significator, the sun, is ruled by Saturn, which is their significator, and it's in triplicity of Saturn. Your moon is in detriment. Okay, it's almost like consciously you maybe want this person to come back into your life, but emotionally there may be a sense that you almost like understand on a deeper level that like it's not going to be good for your peace of mind, perhaps. And for them, they are ruled by Jupiter, exaltation of Venus, triplicity of Venus, term of Saturn. Yeah, Francesca, like I'm sorry to say it. I don't know if you're hoping that the answer is yes, but like it doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like it, and maybe it's for the better, because like on an emotional level, the moon being your planet of emotions, doesn't feel good in the presence of Saturn. So I would say no presently. Maybe unfortunately, but most likely fortunately, even if it feels like not so good, I think there's maybe someone better that will come into your life, and hopefully will make you quickly forget about this S person. Let me know if you have any follow-up questions. Obviously, I always want to like tell people yes. If they want to hear yes, I want to say yes, but it's just like that's not what this chart is saying right now. Mike saying hi, Anastasia. Finally caught up your chart readings early. Yay! Barbara says I send my donation through Cash App. Hi, Barbara. You're saying I would like to know how my overall year looks like. AZXP, but you stated check back in 6 months. Yes, it's always possible to re-ask this question and like see what happens in 6 months. Just like I've been in the position of asking question like yours. There was like years ago when I was dating someone and it didn't work out, and then there was like a little bit of back and forward. And I remember asking the question, the response was like quite similar to this. And I ended up like meeting my now fiance and realizing that like, thank God that did not work out, because there might be, and I believe that there is someone better if things don't work out, especially if like, I don't know, obviously the situation, but like if things didn't work out, that usually happens for a reason. Okay, Barbara, did you send your information? If you don't mind it being public, Barbara, you can just share it in the comment section. But if you want it to be private, you can email me at Anastasia astrology@gmail.com. Okay, and we have, so right now we have Barbara and we have Jaylene. Let me add Jaylene on the list. Thank you, ladies, for your donation. Jaylene, you sound familiar. Are you Jaylene that I have done readings for before on TikTok? I used to. I go through phases. Sometimes I do things on TikTok, and then other times I mean, lately I've just been doing them on here. But maybe I'm confusing you for someone else. Oh, yes. Okay. Yes, look at that. I remember you. Okay, Barbara. So I need your date, time, and place of birth. And if you are okay with sharing it publicly, you can put it in the comments in the chat. If you want it to be private, you can email at Anastasia or Anastasia astrology@gmail.com. I'll put it in the comment section. And that applies to Jaylene as well. There is my email. So, but that's primarily if you want your information to be private. But if you're okay with, with sharing it and then me sharing the chart so you can see what I'm talking about, then that's okay. Jaylene says, I put it in the Venmo comment. Do you prefer it to be private, or are you okay with me sharing your chart and showing the info? Okay, so waiting on Barbara because she's next in line. And then after Barbara, I have Jaylene. Okay, Jaylene says that she doesn't mind sharing. And Mike also is excited about me answering the question before he asks it. Okay, thank you, Barbara. And let me put your information in. September 6, 1974. I had 2 doctor's appointments today. One of them was like just a dental cleaning, and another one was a wellness visit, sort of both annual checkups. And at both of the visits, I was talking to everyone about astrology. I was like, so do you guys know your sun, moon, and rising? And my dentist is like super into astrology. She's Indian, and she's gotten chart readings from Indian astrologers, and she's curious to get like a reading from a Western astrologer. But that was fun. And then Jaylene also asking the question about her Saturn return. The nurse at the general doctor was born in 98, and so she's also going through her Saturn return. So Saturn returns have been abundant. Questions have been important. Okay, so Barbara, your question was, I would like to know how my overall year looks like. Barbara, do you have specific areas that you're mostly interested in? I can definitely touch on like a few things that jump at me, especially some important ones. But if you have any specific things that you want to know, that is also always helpful. If not, I have things to say always, so don't worry about it. I'm already seeing a couple of hot points that are worth discussing. Okay, sharing my screen. Let's go to Barbara. Oh, Jaylene, not Saturn return. The eclipse is on your Saturn. Okay. I would have do it when I started looking at your chart, but I didn't quite get to it yet. Got confused. Thank you for setting me on the right track. So for new people who are joining, share where you're watching from, say hi. If you'd like a reading, the way this goes, I ask for a donation. Suggested amount is $25. There is a pinned comment that you can use for the link to send your donation. And then after that, I will need your date, time, place of birth, and your question. Ideally, one question, because these are shorter readings, so I can dive in and answer your question. If you want your information to be private, email it to anastasia.astrology@gmail.com. If you're okay with it being public, share it so we can look at your chart together. You can just share it in the chat. Also, just before I forget, I am teaching a class about predictive astrology. We start in March. You can find all the information on my website, anastasia.astrology.com. Okay, so Barbara wants to know what her year is going to look like. And I see a lot of important developments in your relationship sector. So we're coming into the year with the first eclipse in Aquarius. It is in your house of relationships and partnerships. We have Pluto on your descendant 3 times this year, right on the eclipse on February 17th, a month before, even 2 months before, 2 months after. July 30, same 2 months before, 2 months after, and December 26th. So Pluto is hanging out right next to your descendant, which is all about partnerships, relationships, and your partner's life. And that suggests that it is either the dark night in your partner's life, like they're going through some kind of, they get fired, they get laid off, they experience some kind of turbulent experience, or there might be an opportunity to sort of build more depth to a relationship and go through a change together. But it's like, I wonder if you're feeling this already, because the first one is February 17th and we are here on February 2nd, and it's been building for a while. And this eclipse that's coming up on the 17th, it's going to be ruled by Saturn in your 9th house. There may be some like ideological shifts okay, so Saturn is about to enter your 9th house, which I think also suggests that you're going to go on this like spiritual quest. You're going to be figuring out what is real, what is not, what you believe, how you can learn, how you can teach, how you can empower other people. You're also maybe going on a sort of educational quest where for 2 years you'll be learning something. And so the eclipse in the house of relationships, I think, suggests that it's just so powerful to have it conjunct the descendant. It doesn't need to be like dramatic and like something is ending in the relationship sector, but it could bring some power struggles and anywhere where you feel like you're restricted, because I think, Saturn Neptune suggests that you'll be asking these questions and maybe your soul is seeking some kind of adventure. And so if there are any partnerships, contracts, agreements, relationships that are slowing you down, there will be a chance to like shake off and dust off the cobwebs and figure out new ways of relating. Are you noticing anything like that already in like intimate relationships, Barbara? And can you see maybe even your partner going through an important period in their life and your relationship shifting in the process? Sergio says, guess all of us Leo risings are going on spiritual quests. Kind of true for me. Could be. Okay, so that's significant. There also will be a lot of action in your first house of identity as Jupiter enters your first house on June 30. And there's actually quite lovely energy here in July, I think, together with that Pluto conjunction. I think the big theme for this year is on some level, like releasing I'd say like shedding old masks and shedding old identities around around sort of visibility and just like releasing old expectations and old ways of being in order to be more truthful, and then relationships changing in the process. But Jupiter does enter your first house of identity on June 30th, and then it conjoins your ascendant on July 19th. And that begins a new and kind of like a year of personal rebirth. And you may find yourself in positions of like learning, teaching, guiding other people. You may feel more optimistic simultaneously as the South Node is going to, like relationship stuff just keeps coming up again and again and again, because South Node is going to enter on July 26th to be here for a year and a half, and it's going to conjoin your Venus shortly after that in October. And so South Node on Venus is also like a sign that there will be a review of desires and review of attractions and relationships. And Venus rules your third house of siblings and communication, and your 10th house of career and public life. So that might be the period where you're clearing things out. But relationships and partnerships and the sense of self get very much intertwined this year. Angela is saying, are readings still open? Yes, I am doing Barbara's reading. I have Jaylene afterwards. And that's it right now. So yes, can definitely take a few more people. Barbara, I would appreciate any thoughts on what I'm saying. Do you feel like that could be maybe even like business relationships, right? This could be marriage. This could be a new relationship that transforms you. This could be a business partnership. You see these transits activate, like they get active when people become perhaps like a CEO or a partner at a firm, and their relationships and their sort of sense of self transforms in the process. Angela, I can't speak. Angela, I see your donation. Thank you. I am going to add you to my list as well. And I also see Michael. Okay, so Barbara, Jaylene, Angela, and Michael. And let's see. So those are, Barbara, those are the main ones that are jumping at me. Obviously, you're also going through your Chiron return, which could be the time of healing. And it could be the time of letting go of old wounds, especially around like vulnerability and personal power, and perhaps accepting that it's okay to be vulnerable, that it's okay to not always be the strongest one. And maybe that's also a sign that you're looking for relationships that fulfill you and that are more freeing. I think like relationships that allow you to be who you are instead of this like he ha 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 star of the show, big bold noticeable Leo rising. Because like in your relationships you really want to be quirky and playful and like weird. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, you're saying, yes, I have agreed to move my entire family to a different state, but now relationships are struggling. And you're saying you're in school right now as well. Okay, so that's awesome. So that means sounds like you're definitely going on a quest, on an important quest. Okay, Michael, I see you as well. There you are. Oh, Mike trades, as in Michael. Okay. Barbara says yes to all of it. Wow. Okay. I'm glad it resonated. Definitely. I feel it. Yeah, like Saturn, Pluto and the eclipses. Take a look, Barbara, at two periods. Look at 96 into 99. This could be connected to education because that's the last time Saturn was in Aries. And take a look at 2008, 2009 for when there were perhaps relationship and identity houses being active the last time, because you're back in it again. Okay, so thank you, Barbara. If you want to keep talking about it, if you want to know more about the year to come, highly recommend booking a reading, because that is always the most accurate way, and we can have a back and forward, and it's also just like helpful to hear about past experiences, because I think that a lot of what we're going through right now could be based on what happened in the past and how you handled it in the past, perhaps. Okay, so Jaylene, Angela, and Michael is the list right now. I might take one or two more people, but I'll probably close the list pretty soon after that. Real Talk with Kristen says, I follow you. Happy to be here. Happy that you're here as well. Okay, Jaylene, you said you sent your information. You put the question in the Venmo. There it is. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing for a second. You're welcome, Barbara. Have a good time with Pluto. Pluto is this, it can also empower you, right? Like the story of Pluto is the story of initiation. He pulls you into the underworld, and he sometimes creates difficult experiences, but through them, he really empowers and like brings a lot of strength as well. Okay, Jaylene's question, wondering about upcoming eclipse on my Saturn. Yeah, I feel like when I was reading your question, I just saw Saturn and I was like, oh, Saturn, return. But you're done with your Saturn return. So it's like, it's not the question that you were going to ask. Okay, so there you are. There's your chart. Saturn at 25 degrees Aquarius. Okay. So this is all familiar, right? Sagittarius Sun, Capricorn Moon, Aquarius rising. And you're saying, yes, wondering how you see these Aquarius Leo eclipses surfacing. The first round of them was back in 2008. You're saying I started dating. Right. Okay. So we have a reverse of what we were just talking about with Barbara, where she's had North Node in the 7th house and South Node in the 1st. Jaylene, you have the opposite, right? Like you have North Node in your 1st house starting from July 26, 2026, and then for 18 months. The first eclipse here is on February 17th. The last eclipse here is in January 2028. So 2 years pretty much of eclipses in Aquarius. And then eclipses in Leo, similar time frame. And right now we have a preview. The one on the 17th is like a taste test because the nodes are not officially shifting until late July. So we are not like, we're kind of dipping our toes into these new themes, but we're not fully there yet. And so here's the eclipse on the 17th of February. So we got to keep in mind that the eclipse is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn is in Aries for the next 2 years, from February 13th until mid-April 2028. Saturn in the third is the time when you are rewiring your brain with education. You see people go to school, writing, learning, education, right? But it can also be like learning new languages, learning new software, learning a lot of like different skills. It can also represent that like you're having to be serious in your speech, and there may be even expectations of you to be like a speech writer or to be like perfect in something that you're learning. And so the eclipse in Aquarius piggybacks off of that. It's like something that, you're changing your life, you're changing your mind, you're changing the way you present yourself. And the eclipse suggests that out of that comes a new identity. This could be about like professional growth. It is, like you said, it is next to your Saturn, it is next to your chart ruler. Being born with Saturn usually naturally gifts you with this like responsible personality. People see you and they know that you can take care of things, but there's also an intense inner vulnerability that comes with Saturn, and like a lot of self-doubt often. And so with the eclipses activating your first and seventh houses, it's kind of like similar themes. I think all of us collectively will be examining our desire to be liked and perceived a certain way. For you, it's in the house of relationships. So I think it may be important for your love life, especially the August eclipse in Leo, and then other eclipses next year in Leo. Definitely like major new beginnings, major endings, right? In relationships, in personal life. But it's also like you're in this really big period of self-empowerment with Pluto in the first. Like if you're, even throughout the last 2 years, if there's been any challenging situations or people who are sabotaging you, doubting you, throwing obstacles in your path, or even laying heavy expectations on you, these eclipses are going to offer you a chance to kind of like own who you are, and also maybe like build your voice. I think Saturn in Aries is, I mean, also, Jaylene, what was happening in your life between 96, 99? What was happening in your life when you were like 3, 4, and 5? I mean, it's a silly question because probably nothing, and you probably don't remember much. But maybe you were going through like speaking. Maybe you were starting to like find your voice. I wonder. Yeah, Saturn, I'm born with Saturn in the third house, and Saturn in the third house sometimes creates it makes you it's like a little bit harder to move freely for one reason or another. You may feel like you're a little bit stuck because, and like your reaction might be to say no to a lot of new things that are coming your way. But it's a really, and there might be also some kind of sense of like resistance to new ideas, to new experiences, to sort of, like some kind of Saturn like pressure tests you. And so there might be this like sense of resistance, but also an opportunity to let go of a lot of outdated beliefs. One thing Saturn in the third house is really good for is like perfecting your knowledge and like focusing on something like a skill, a hobby. Like for me, it's astrology, right? Like I know so much about astrology, and I like keep learning more and more and more, which is very like Virgo, and I guess like Sagittarius, Saturn, perhaps as well. I do like that. I do quite like that Saturn will be trining all of your Sag placements, right? Later in the cycle is going to square your Capricorn, but that's not until next year. And as it's trining your Sagittarius, it also makes me think of like new exciting learning opportunities to write, opportunities to speak, opportunities to maybe like express your authority. You're saying I think it speaks to my consulting business, which is community engagement. Yeah, that's good. And then you're laughing at me asking you about 96, 99. You're saying I started making memories. Was there anything like around that time with siblings too? Because that's another thing where like third house can be coming through, matters involving siblings, and maybe you also having to take responsibility for siblings. But consulting business and community engagement makes a lot of sense. Like all of that is the third house. Like having to speak with the oomph, getting more oomph to your speech. You're saying they started leaving for college and you're the youngest. So there's like a big difference between you, I guess. Yeah, it's like it's interesting because there may be, if we're looking at like the 7th house and relationships, and Jupiter together with the South Node can definitely bring new relationships your way, but you're going to have to take a lead in those relationships. I think you're going to have to be the star of this show. 13 and 15 years. So yeah, so the next couple of years with these eclipses can also be significant for your siblings, because the previous time, like you're saying, they started to go to college, and so that would have been an important period in their lives, and potentially maybe somehow like isolating, because Saturn in Aries can kind of isolate us, and encourage us to find our power. Saturn in Aries is Saturn in its fall. And usually there is like a sense that you have to find a different way to move through problems. And there may be a sense of like pushback or, I don't know, like trying to find your authority in circumstances where other people don't immediately respect you. So you kind of have to build your confidence, and so, like you said, your consulting business, like it might take some time to build it. It might take some time to sort of build clientele and prove to them that you know what you're talking about. So I think major developments for your business for sure. And also probably some relationship energy, especially around like the time, August time, when we have the new moon solar eclipse here. And then when Jupiter also enters Leo in late June. Have fun. I hope this is helpful, and thank you for sharing what was happening in your life. That helps me as well. Okay, so next we have Angela and Michael. You're saying hopefully, Jaylene says, hopefully new relationship comes in. Thank you. You're welcome. Yeah, hopefully it does. If it does, I think with like the South Node and Jupiter, it might have spiritual undertones to it too. And Jupiter can bring someone foreign, which I know your Sagittarius stellium would like. Okay, so Angela, I think I saw your information. Thank you for sharing. Are you here, Angela? Just checking. Okay. You are here. And let me see. So I have Pisces Sun, Aquarius Moon, Aquarius Rising for you. Is that correct? Okay. You're saying yes, it's correct. So, okay. Angela says, what in my chart do you think is making it so difficult to find a new job? Wondering if I have hard transitions the last 2 years or not. Has it always been difficult for you to find work or not really? So there are some big things going on in your chart for sure. You're saying no, so mostly just recently. Okay, so you're saying I'm getting hammered the last couple positions. The last couple like jobs you had or the last couple applications for jobs? Oh, you're saying this last one I thought was my forever job and turned out that it's not. Okay. Um so your midheaven is ruled by Mars, and Mars is in its detriment in Taurus. So that would be a natal chart situation that I think may require attention and can be generally like your Mars needs love. Your Mars needs a way to come out. Mars is a fighter within, and when you're born with Mars in Taurus, you are likely to be someone who doesn't like to fight. And Mars in Taurus tends to be this like Ferdinand the Bull, would rather like lay in the field and smell flowers and not deal with frustrating people. Yet, because it rules your house of career, there will be fighting at work. But so the situation with Mars and Taurus might be that like your job presents fights, but with your Mars, you try to avoid it, or you come across as like passive aggressive, or people you work with come across as passive aggressive, or people you work with come across as bullying and difficult. This can very much be your boss, right? Mars rules your house of siblings, actually. Do your bosses remind you of your siblings? Is there any crossover, I wonder? You're saying, I feel like there's always fights at work. And yes, I really try to manage it, but ugh. Do you exercise? I would recommend as a remedy for Mars, Tuesday is the day of Mars, which funny, in French, mardi is Tuesday. So it literally says Mars in the name. And it's a way to remediate Mars on Tuesdays to do some kind of martial arts or lift weights or work with metals. I would also highly recommend my Mars and Scorpio candle for you. You can light it up on Tuesday and maybe lift some weights with a candle lit up, or the oil, because that is Mars in its domicile. It would fall in your house of career. It's kind of Mars in its own place, right? But if you can also just plan some kind of like physical activity. Ideally, it has to be sort of like fighting, like especially martial arts are really good for Mars because they involve structured way of fighting. Like you go to a place and you're literally being told how to attack, what to do. And so that will help you get in touch with your Mars. That will give it an outlet, and potentially you'll encounter less conflict at work because Mars needs conflict. You're saying, I'm wondering about current transits in the sky. Do you know if there's any that are making it even more difficult? Yeah, for sure. Pluto is squaring your Mars. So it's there. Pluto is conjoining your ascendant and it's squaring your Mars. So right there, which will take me back to the fact your Mars needs attention, your Mars needs help. But yeah, Pluto is in the first house. It's very much challenging your sense of self-worth. It's bringing these dark experiences. It's potentially like forcing you to discover your power. And then it's also squaring Mars, which is stimulating this conflict avoidant tendencies, but also shows you that you can't be conflict avoidant forever, that you like need to learn how to stand up for yourself correctly. And you're saying, oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, it's very much it's like right there in our faces, because it's a pretty strong strong energy, and it's like a once in a lifetime transit, because Pluto takes 280 plus years to make a full circle of the zodiac. So it's not like you're going to get this transit more than once. But if we were to look at some dates, yeah, it's like it's intense all throughout 2025 and 2026. Pluto conjoins your ascendant 5 times. You've dealt with it in March, April, June 2025. It's happening right now. It conjoins your ascendant on the 28th of January, so 2 months before, 2 months after, August 28th, December 1st. And then Pluto squares your Mars 3 times, February 11th, August 7th, December 20th, 2026. A lot of tensions, a lot of like feeling that people are standing in your way. It's best to avoid kind of getting down to the level of people, and like, let's say it's just like Mars in Taurus is tough. Mars in Taurus can come across as like a bully sometimes, and like if you don't kind of work on your anger, which another way of working with this would be like, maybe, I don't know, taking like courses about being assertive or a leader, or like how to deal with, I don't know, inner seeping frustration, because like you without trying may sometimes come across as like, maybe like, I don't like, too forceful. It's like you hide it, and then your Mars comes out. So I would really, really recommend every Tuesday having a ritual around Mars. Doing martial arts, lighting a candle, reading a prayer, maybe asking for Mars to bless your career pursuits. I do rituals for Venus every Friday, and I have Venus in her fall, messing with me sometimes. So it could be helpful. You're saying, damn, and yes, that's how I'm feeling. Yeah, Pluto. So it's like you're still gonna deal with it this year. It's not without, there's not like, there's gonna be some supportive energy, I think, as perhaps like Saturn enters Aries and trines like sextiles your ascendant. There may be some like helpful ways of like, you might kind of take control of how you communicate and how you come across. And so that could be helpful. Should I avoid interviewing on Tuesday, you're asking? I wouldn't say so. I just say using Tuesday as this way to consciously bring attention to the planet in your chart that could use some help. Because you can't, a lot of times when Mars is in its detriment, like people might really act like Mars doesn't exist. And there might be the sense of like, I'm not provoking anyone. I am always like nice and kind to people, but you have a planet within you. We all do. We have a planet that's a fighter. And if you don't give him attention, he will come out and mess with your like pursuits. And I think this sort of like eclipse in your first house, Pluto in your first house, Pluto squaring your Mars, is maybe like, while you're in this in between place as well professionally, why not focus on yourself and kind of focus on your leadership skills and your like inner warrior. You're saying that's exactly what's been happening. So yeah, I do recommend doing rituals, setting some time aside. At sunrise is best. You can also Google planetary hours and find the hour of Mars if you wanted to time your like candle lighting and prayer reading. I do that for Venus on Fridays, but even just going to martial arts classes, um, you can also like volunteer with military veterans and work with people who are like in the military, or even like the wives of military veterans or something like that. If especially if you have, you know, if you have someone in the family who's been like at war, maybe you have someone in the family who was like really angry when you were a kid and didn't express their frustration well, and so you learn to be pleasant and chill and like not fight with them. um so like, yeah, like if you had, let's say, someone who was in the military and then you volunteer or you donate to some charity that's connected to military, that would be good. So give your Mars some love. That could be helpful, I think, because it's not all going to be difficult. Like you do have this lovely Jupiter in its domicile, and I think generally Jupiter should bless you with good luck, and it can help your financial sector because it sits in the house of money. But Mars needs love. You're welcome. And if you ever want a full-sized reading, book it at anastasia.astrology.com. Or join my upcoming course. We are starting to learn predictive astrology this time. The spots are filling up, so don't wait too long. We start on the 7th of March. Okay, Michael, are you here? Okay, Mike is here. And the question is, so my question has to do with my current relationship. We've been together for about 4.5 months. Recently, things have been getting lovey-dovey and we've gotten very close. I know this is a time where I could be meeting or with a destined or karmic partner. Is this the same girlfriend that you sort of went through a difficult period with and then you came back together? You're saying this feels like a very powerful connection, something that I have not experienced in a long time or ever. Below are my details and hers just in case. And then some lovely things about me. Thank you again, Anastasia, for all you do. You're an amazing reader and astrologer. Oh, don't stop. Say more nice things. Just kidding. Not really. The moon is the moon in Leo still. I feel like it feels like it's still in Leo. It's still in Leo, so it's good to get like good things said. Okay, you also said just wanted to know if my current relationship could be something significant and if we have a shot at something long term. Okay, let's see. So I'm tempted to pull a horror, but I also feel like I've just pulled it an hour ago and I don't know if it's going to change much, but we can see. I'm just going to real quick see if there's much changed or not. Because sometimes it's hard to be precise and be like, is this relationship it? That's a bit of a difficult question. So I'm gonna just check if horror is telling me anything. But it's not really looking much different from the previous one. So but it's hard to say. Just a minute. I mean, I don't know. It's not like the horror is completely not telling me anything, but let's see. We don't have time for like a full-sized relationship analysis at this point, because usually those take a while to like sort of look at all the charts. Let me look at your chart and see if we've looked at this before, right? Like, is it, I feel like I've looked at this for you before. But I'm not sure if it's the same relationship we talked about in the past or if it's a different one. Moonchild. Dhyan, Dhyan, is that your name? Dhyan? You're saying, hi, I ordered your candles, the Jupiter Kazemi and the Moon in Cancer. I'm a Cancer rising. Those are awesome. Both of them are really good for you. And I think you got the last Jupiter Kazemi too, because I'm out of these officially. Okay, Mike says, yes, I think so. It's the same, I believe. Is it okay to show your information, Mike? And sorry if I asked it already. I'm being easily distracted. The story of my life. Let me know, or I can keep it private as well. Okay, name but not birthday. So then maybe I'll not share your information, and we'll just talk about what I'm seeing. Okay, this is not correct. Give me a second. And thank you for being patient as I pull up all the charts. Tian says, I just ordered 2 Mercury Kazemi, one for me and one for my mom. Yes, it's right there. I started packing them, but I didn't get to finish. So it's I'm going to ship it tomorrow. So your candles are right here, right there in front of me. Mercury candles are really good right now because of the upcoming retrograde. So everyone who is worried about the retrograde, could be a good time to get yourself a Mercury candle. Thank you so much for supporting my work, Dian. I don't know if H is pronounceable in your name, so forgive me if I'm saying it incorrectly. But yeah, I appreciate you supporting me and getting my candles. Okay, Mike, I'm still putting the information in. I'll be right there. Okay, I'm just gonna do like, I wanna see a composite chart and see if there's anything that's jumping at me. A composite is a way to blend both charts together to see what sort of energy or relationship might project onto the world. Okay, Mike, so Cancer Sun, Cancer Moon, Libra rising for you. Cap Sun, Cancer Moon, Virgo rising for her, correct? Moonchild says, that's why I got them. I love them. Highly recommend them. Thank you for recommending them. Okay. So I feel like I do remember looking at your charts together. You have the same moon. Your moons are conjunct. That is a sign of like emotional affinity. She's got Venus and Mars in Pisces, which works really well with your sun and moon as well. Squares your Venus in Gemini. You have conflicting Venuses, which can sometimes be a sign of like different kind of styles. Like you might be like you might like different things, right? Like she might like music that makes her cry, and you might like podcasts that distract you from your thoughts, just off the top of my head. So you've got Mars ruling your house of relationships. It's in Taurus. She's got Mars in Pisces. Mars in Pisces, Mars in Taurus seem to be relatively friendly with one another. Okay, what does oh, and her north node is on your Mars. That could be an interesting sign. So she's learning how to perhaps take it easy and learning how to be more kind of in touch with her Venus and more present and more, yeah, like her south node is in Scorpio, and she may be someone who has been through a lot, or she almost, like people who have their south node ruled by Mars can have a tendency to almost like expect the world to fall apart, or they may feel like things can go wrong more easily, maybe. And so with her north node in Taurus, I think she's learning to be more like in the body, grounded, relaxed, and chill. And she can also find that through relationships, and your Mars being in Taurus. And you both have it next to like Kaput al Gol. So together you guys maybe can like explore primal and raw passions and like find your own way to like chill and be together. But Kaput al Gol as a fixed star often encourages us to go back to like the way things have been, to sort of build relationships that are maybe more like simple and more kind of chill, I think, more earthy and grounded. In your composite chart, you're saying I rush into things and she likes to take things slow. That's because your seventh house of relationships is Aries. You're saying that's interesting. Yes, she's like that. I assume that's about her, like her Scorpio South Node. Hi, Madalena Fernandez from Canada. Thank you for tuning in. Kristen, I see emails from you. I don't think I see a donation. If you'd like a reading, please send the donation. There's a link in the pinned comments. Suggested amount is 25, and I can take you, and that might be my last reading for the day. So the composite chart is interesting, and I think I can probably share. I think I can share this one because all it says is New York, New York. So we can look at the composite chart together for like everything. You can, I think, trigger each other's emotions quite strongly, and there may be, so the moon squares Saturn and the moon squares Jupiter, and there's Saturn-Jupiter opposition in this chart, which can also suggest that sometimes the desire to grow in a relationship will be at odds with sort of past wounds or fears. And like you may sometimes walk this fine line between like we love each other, we want to grow together, versus like we're cautious and we're both like emotional and we need to like be self-protective. The sun and moon square can be a sign of sometimes like kind of dealing with maybe like emotional. Yeah, I think, what's coming through to me here is like you need to make sure that you're not restricting one another, that you're not being critical of one another. And kind of like, because she's a Capricorn sun, but she's got this sensitive Pisces, Venus and Mars, and so she can be quite sensitive, and so making sure to accept each other's feelings. There is, there is Neptune sextile to this Libra energy, and a trine to the Aries energy. So there could be some support through Neptune, through sort of acceptance, forgiveness, and maybe like being sensitive in communication with one another. Venus and Mars together is definitely a sign of passion. Yeah, I like the moon sun square can be sometimes a bit complicated, can suggest that like there might be like emotional disconnect at times, even though you have the same moon. I'm like, I don't understand this, because it's like contradictory. But the sun usually represents like young energy in a relationship, of just like, going and taking risks and being assertive together. And the moon is an emotional energy. And so when the sun and moon are in a square to each other, there's maybe some kind of tension within a relationship, when like you kind of have to work through some obstacles, I think. And there may be like, you're not always emotionally on the same page, but you're maybe quite like fascinated with one another, I think. And maybe like, if you're patient with the other person, if you agree to disagree, then it can work potentially. Are there any outside world like matters that are standing in the way of your relationship? Like one of you having kids, or one of you living in a different town? Like, because sometimes the Saturn energy in the first house can represent that maybe there are some sort of walls that you have to go past or go through. Jump over some boundaries that you need to jump over. I mean, for every challenge, there is like, even this Moon Saturn square, there's Jupiter involved. So, I mean, I don't know. It's hard. It's really hard to say whether this relationship is the one. You're saying, no, none of us has kids, but there has been an issue with her relationship with prior exes. Is in like her relationship with the exes affecting your relationship? Do you feel like you guys are on the same page? You're saying, yes, I'm bothered by it. Are you honest about feeling bothered by it? It's like sort of interesting, because there's this moon in a square to Saturn, in a square to Mercury, in a square to the sun, in a square to Pluto in this chart. And it can be like a very significant relationship. And I think it has potential to be long lasting, but you need to make sure that your communication is not just like, there may be sort of politeness in the communication, but you also need to make sure that the words come from the heart, I think. And there's sort of like clarity and honesty in conversations. Because the moon square Saturn can at times be like a sign of like intellectual understanding, but not always emotional understanding. So like working through that is important. You're saying, yes, I brought it up, but that's when we butt heads and it causes arguments. Maybe you can try communicating differently. Maybe you can like try to approach this from perspective of your feelings and where you're coming from and like your past experiences. Maybe it's difficult to like express to people how we feel sometimes, because I think it's hard to like get, I don't know, so yeah, like sometimes it could be tricky because they might hear things like we're offending them or we're blaming them for things, well in reality it's not always the case. So yeah, I think overall it can be like a serious long-term relationship, but only time will tell probably. And Saturn going into your seventh house is going to answer this question for you better than I can, because Saturn is going to pressure test the relationship. And then if you are willing to work through it and she's willing to work through it, you can make it work. Almost any relationship can thrive and can make it through Saturn in the seventh house if both people are willing and like honest with each other. But it could be, yeah, like you said, Saturn in the seventh could be a sign of a serious and karmic relationship, and maybe that's it for you. You're saying I get worried about those situations, but we are exclusive and in love, I believe. So keep talking and keep like expressing things, because your Mars is in Taurus, which is another, example of like needing to give your Mars attention and do some rituals around Mars. Highly recommend. And also sort of similar, Mars and Scorpio candle could be good, or Mars Kazemi and martial arts. And that is the ruler of your house of relationships. If you want relationships to be good, give Mars love. Don't ignore Mars. Don't just hope for things to work out. Find ways to express your masculine energy, or it will find conflicts. It will find expression through conflicts in a relationship. Gotta give it attention. Okay, Kristen, you are next. And thank you, Mike. I hope it resonated. And I think Kristen will be last unless we have someone else who just wants to jump on as the last person. Otherwise, we'll say list is closed. Okay, Kristen, did you share your information with me? You did send emails. I see your info. Can I share it publicly, or would you rather I keep it private? Okay, you're saying yes, emailed, go for it, as in it's okay to share. Okay. Thank you for letting me know. Happy belated birthday. You're saying it is a busy year ahead. Topics: court, finances, wedding. My twin girls turned 16 in April. My son graduates high school. Questions: any changes with money coming in? Waiting on finances from a court trial, child support hearing, waiting since September and no ruling yet. It has been difficult with finances, that I have almost full time with my children, looking for financial relief. You're saying with my love in 2023, I'm planning small wedding this April and trip to Europe in June. Any advice on timing of our wedding or events of the summer? My son is graduating high school May 26th. Busy year. So money and wedding. You're saying, okay, you're sharing other things. Went through issues last October in a relationship, make or break moment. We made it through and worked through dynamics regarding my children and parenting styles. Met in July 2023, got engaged in February 2024. Okay, and then you're giving his information, which we'll probably not necessarily get to, because that's just a lot. That's a lot of things. And I do ask usually for focusing on one thing. So I think we can look at money and like best dates for April and June. June is actually really a really good month this year. So it's nice that you're planning some travels and like April, I think Venus is in Taurus. So both of those are pretty decent. Okay. So let me see. You're saying I said fiance's birth chart info also if no time, no problem. Yeah, I did see that. I just don't think we'll get to it because usually I ask to prioritize one question. If like, if you wanted to have a full-size reading, you can always book it at anastasiadoesastrology.com. But I know that you mentioned financially, this is a more difficult time. So I totally get it. Okay, so let's see. So you are 45, correct? We've got 42, 43, 44, 45. 45 is the 10th house year, ruled by Mercury. Mercury is in the 3rd house, so that's not necessarily jumping at me in regards of finances. Jupiter has been in your 8th house since June 6th. I think, is it June 6th or 9th? Maybe 9, 2025. Yeah, June 9th, 2025. And it's here until June 30, 2026. It is currently retrograde. And it's going to go direct on March 10th. And between March 10th and June 30, 2026 is potentially when you may see some kind of happy developments with finances, especially finances that are owed to you from other people, because 8th house represents partners' money and debts and loans and inheritance and insurance and custody battles, or like, alimony, child support payments, everything like that. And so I think Jupiter being retrograde, it went retrograde. When did it go retrograde? Well, probably like November 2025. Yeah, like mid-November 2025, and it will turn direct on March 10, 2026. So that's a positive sign for finances. The ruler of your house of money is Saturn in Libra. You've got Venus in the house of money as well. Saturn squares this Venus might suggest that sometimes there's like, what does Venus rule? Venus rules 6th house of work and 11th house of friendships, networks, career, hopes and dreams. Maybe some expenses that involve like health of children, or even some friendships, maybe some gatherings with friends that can sometimes affect your finances. I'm thinking out loud at this point. I'm just trying to, I'm massaging it to see what jumps at me. Okay, we're going to have an eclipse in Aquarius. We're going to have Saturn in your 5th house. What were things like in relationship between May 25th and September 1st last year? And just generally, what was that period like? Because sometimes Saturn going into your 5th house from February 13th until April 2028 at first may create a little bit of like friction or tension in your love life. And maybe like you'll have to like move through some obstacles that involve pleasure and love and sex even sometimes. But that's not necessarily what we're talking about. And Neptune can create maybe a sense of like a dreamy connection, but I think Saturn will test it and will make sure that you're looking at a relationship through a reasonable lens instead of idealizing it. So, okay, so financially, I think you can expect things to get better probably after like March, but maybe even a little bit later because Mercury will be retrograde until March 20th. So like sometime like April um April timeline potentially. Okay, you're saying yes, had children, medical bills, adjustments, kids, living dynamics. That was like May into September. So was that like a little bit difficult in terms of fun back then? Did you feel like maybe you're not having as much fun, that it's just all like like obstacles, and maybe was that affecting the fun in a relationship a little bit? But yeah, I still think you can expect like finances to improve between March 10th and June 30. And especially like as Venus also enters Cancer in late, it's sort of like mid-May, that might be potentially like the most beneficial time. Venus is here from May 18th, 19th, and then on June 13th, I think or June 9th. June 9th, she's conjoining Jupiter. And that is also like a really good time to go on a trip and to plan some type of romantic getaway. Maybe even a little bit after that, because then Venus goes into Leo on June 13th, and that is your ninth house of travel. So going away in like between like June 9th, June 13th, etc., could be positive and could be fun. Venus on the moon, I quite like. And then you were also wondering about April. So in April, we've got Venus in Taurus. Very mucho nice, very lovely. So Venus is in Taurus from March 30, and then until like April 23rd. And there is, I think, so if I had to pick like good romantic dates, you can probably go for anything around like April 17th. Yes, it's activating your sixth house, which is not the most like glamorous romantic house. So April 17th, 18th is good just purely because the moon is exalted, Venus is in rulership. She's conjoining Uranus, which might flavor the marriage and relationship with like unorthodox, open-minded, experimental energy. Or if you wanted to do it when the moon is in Gemini in your seventh house around like April 19th, 18th, those are really good. And even all the way into like 21st of April, 22nd of April, this looks quite beautiful. The moon Jupiter conjunction on the 22nd, I really like as well. So those are potentially my favorites, and I hope that helps. Oh, you're saying wedding date is already set for April 7th. Let's see. Okay, Venus is in Taurus. Moon is in Sagittarius, your first house. That's also pretty good. I like it. That's good. Yeah, so you can potentially plan around those times and go for those times. And you're saying stress and court. Oh, okay. So you have a small reception planned already for April 19th. Yeah, I think those are good times. I think you picked you picked correctly even without looking. I don't know if you looked at astrology or not, but definitely seems to align with astrology and good times. And it's interesting that you're also dealing with some court stuff because Jupiter is going to be in your 9th house and the South Node is going to be in your 9th house from like July onwards. And there may be some interesting developments and maybe some endings because South Node being in your 9th house might suggest that it will be kind of the time to come to an agreement and compromise, and maybe you're not going to get everything that you want because South Node might suggest like letting go of certain expectations and even letting go of the ego on some level and kind of like, needing to be right for the sake of creating more peace and more freedom. So I hope this helps and I hope this resonated, and have a beautiful wedding. Good luck with the trip that you have planned and everything financially and otherwise. I hope you guys, not just have a beautiful wedding, but also have a happy marriage. And thank you everyone who has participated today and sent donations and asked me questions. I appreciate every single one of you. If you ever want a full-sized personal reading, visit anastasiadoesastrology.com to book yours. I am teaching a class starting in March 2026. It's dedicated to the predictive astrology, to predicting with the use of transits, so solar returns, annual perfections, and forecasting your future, understanding the cycles in astrology, and gaining more control of your life. So check it out, sign up, join us. The spots are filling up, so don't wait too long. And enjoy the rest of your evening or morning, depending on where you are and when you're watching this, or day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.